Hey, up next on the Maury Rock Show, making his second visit to the rock show is Don Huffman. He is the vocalist and guitarist from the band Huffman. They released an album called Reign of Five back in March, and they got a brand new single out, so lots to talk about. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here again.
Hey, so I mentioned it is the second time you've been on the show, but the band, only formed a couple years ago. So for folks that may not know you guys yet, give us just a quick history of the formation of the band.
Yeah, we formed back in 2014. I started it up with a couple of friends. Like I said on the last show, Tim Wallace and Pat Perry were the original members. They're in a band called Goodbye July now, and they'll be having a EP release very soon. But I brought in a bunch of players since then. It's really been a project of my own, and I'm just inviting so many people in. It's so good to work with so many great artists around the Baltimore area. And people like Curtis Goad and Paul Provenzano come in. And we just recently had Anton Toolman come in from Phoenix Rising. I don't know if you're familiar with that band, but they're pretty popular around Baltimore. And we've been recording, the Infinite Story EP, which should be out in the fall. Like you said, Reign of Five was released March 4th. It's out on all digital outlets. So we're recording music and getting ready to play some shows later on in the year.
Hey, so I'm going to ask you about the new single in just a minute, but let's just kind of flash back a little bit to March, because we don't want to let that thing go by the record that you released that I believe you did with Tony Corelli. So tell us a little bit about the making of that record. How long was that in the making?
That was 2 years. Good old Tony at the Deep End studio. I met him back in 2014, and we just started recording. And it was originally supposed to be an album, but we decided to go the EP route. The 5 songs. There's actually a 6th song at the beginning. It's just instrumental that Tony actually came up with. The man is an absolute genius, I have to tell you. There's 5 other songs on there that we're really proud of. Ripcord, The Road Unnamed, Red, Stormfront, and Horde. And Horde and I believe it was Stormfront we played on the show the last time. Those are 2 of my favorites off that one. And like I said before, we're looking to push up-tempo music, the old alternative sound from back in the 90s. We're really proud of that, but we're also switching it up a little bit and throwing in a few different genres. We don't like to be stagnant in our musical arrangements.
So I mentioned that we told us a little bit about the last album. Now I mentioned the new single out called Infinity. It's a good tune, man. You sent it to me. That's why I have you back on the show, because I like the tune. Now, was that written before or after the release of the last record?
That was after the release. We just finished that a few weeks back. We have a few more songs to do for the new EP. But this one we're really proud of. It's about 6-7 minutes long. We added a reprise to the end of it. Tony and Anton did a lot of good work on that. Anton played a lead, so that's one of my favorite parts of the song is that solo in the bridge. But yeah, it's a really cool song. Originally it was supposed to be about Vikings, of all things, but I switched it up and made it about aliens.
Go into that a little more, because I was going to ask you, I was listening to it out on the deck today. Give me a little more of the story behind it. So it's about aliens. I did not pick that up, so elaborate a little on that.
Yeah, it's really a story. It was going to be like a fairy tale telling. At the very beginning, you hear the lyrics, Mother may we, Mother can we, and it goes on throughout the song like you're talking to your child at bedtime, telling them a story. But the message is, we started out in life with a blank slate. How did we get here? Where do we go? We go through so many trials and tribulations throughout life. But in the end, what's the real story? Are there really aliens out there that may come back and help us out later on? Everybody loves watching their History Channel nowadays, but that's where I get a lot of inspiration from. But now, the very end, the aliens come, and it's sort of like a rebirth of the world, getting rid of all the negative and moving on from all that stuff.
Kind of sounds like a science fiction version, like of a Purge or something like that, right? Kind of what's going on there.
Yep. Independence Day in Huffman music. That's what you
So, you kind of just alluded to this a little bit. You know, I was reading your bio. You've been writing lyrics for like 20 years now, and so like I was going to ask you where, and you just kind of alluded to it a little bit, where you go for inspiration these days, and my other follow-up to this, has that changed in the past 2 decades?
Well, nowadays, I've been a police officer for about 17 years down in Washington, D.C., and you run into all types of crimes against humanity, and, you know, you have a lot of stuff to pull from, but also in my personal life, there's been a lot of loss, and a lot of happiness. My little girl is a huge inspiration to me. There's actually going to be a lullaby on the new EP at the very beginning for her. But, yeah, all these different things in my life have led me to this state. But 20 years ago I started, I was just dabbling around, writing poetry, writing lyrics. I never really thought about starting a band up. And then my friend Tim really inspired me over the years and felt like I wanted to jump into that field and get my inspiration, creativity out there for everyone to hear and listen to. And I'm really proud of it so far. We're really stoked for the future.
Hey man, we appreciate all the services of the Men in Blue. Man, it's a tough job, and you know, DC is probably a busy community for you guys. So hats off to you for doing that.
Thank
so
you.
hey, oh yeah, man, thank you. And so, what are the prospects for some live shows coming up in the near future? Are there any?
Yeah, we're working with Mike Diamond at MARR Records and a few promoters here and there. We're trying to figure out what is the best schedule for me. I have a hectic schedule working in that field, so trying to figure out exactly when we can hit the stage is pretty tough. But we're looking for late fall, hopefully, at this point. Once we get this EP finished, that'll be 10 songs to go out and play, so I'm ready to go out there. We just need to figure it out.
Now, when you guys go out there, you know, you're down in Virginia, like D.C. area, but I know you're affiliated with a lot of folks in Baltimore, so where is kind of Huffman's niche? Where's your sort of, you know, your home-based community where you have most of your fans?
It's America, man. That's
do you have one town that's, like, supported you guys, like, a little more as a standout, or one club in particular that, like, you guys are a little more popular than others?
Well, Baltimore probably is the biggest one. Paul, the drummer's from Middle River, and Curtis is from Virginia, so, and Anton is actually up from Baltimore. So really, I guess Baltimore would be the closest, if you want to put us anywhere. But yeah, we're from all over the DC metro area, and I pull in people from here and there as well.
So, I know you pull like a lot of influence, and you guys kind of are that heritage, like the Foo Fighters and the Chili Peppers and bands like that. Do you guys do a cover tune at all in your set? And if so, who is it?
This might surprise you. Curtis is big into Ray LaMontagne, and he gets a lot of influence from that, and I'm really into that as well. But yeah, if we're going to do some covers, it'd be alternative stuff as well. Probably mostly Pearl Jam, that sort of stuff. But yeah, Ray's a huge influence for us. I don't know if you're really familiar with his work, but
no, I'm actually not. Yeah. So, hey, I saw like on the new album, and maybe it doesn't mean anything. I don't know, but there's this kind of like odd little burning symbol that seems to appear everywhere. Tell us a little bit about that, if in fact it means anything.
On the infinity one you're talking about, or the
yeah, that little like kind of burning circular shaped thing with some interesting shapes on it.
It's the infinity symbol that I split in half on the top, and then you have it's a alien, which is actually a cat skull, because I don't know if you're familiar with history, with the legends, is that in Egypt a cat was revered, and they believe, you know, from all these hieroglyphics, all this other stuff, that aliens may have visited at some point. So that symbolizes that, and then the hazmat symbols on the side represent the destruction of the world at this point, and the aliens coming back to resurrect Earth, so to speak.
Yeah, so it was a lot more complicated than I thought at first.
Yeah, it's really deep thought here. My mind goes crazy sometimes, but it's a lot of fun.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if I did, but I think I might have first met you down at a festival down in Southern Maryland. And so who do you go to listen to these days? Like, I know you're busy being a police officer, but when you get a chance to get out, what's in your on your iPod playlist, and who do you go see these days?
I got to tell you, local bands around Baltimore are phenomenal. You got the Henchmen, you got Knightsbridge, Fail Yours, a bunch of bands around there that I'm more than happy to go check out and enjoy. And then, of course, you got your big bands you listen to. But I'm more into supporting the local bands because I know how tough it is to get out there, be heard, get your message out. So, yeah, pretty much any Baltimore band you bring up, I'll be a fan of them at this point.
Yeah, they mentioned the Henchmen. We were just at their CD release show this past weekend. So,
yeah.
Hey. So one more thing, man, before I let you go here. What's your big goal for Huffman in 2016? I mean, where do you hope for? What do you think in New Year it's going to look like for the band?
Well, get that Infinity EP released. We're actually going to do 3 music videos, 2 of which will be from the Reign of 5 album EP, and then Infinity will be the 3rd video. But I'm going to be working with Josh Emmett over at Shutter Frequency. He just worked with a bunch of artists there in Baltimore, I believe Clint Randall and a few others. But yeah, it should be out by early next year, and then hopefully hit those festivals in the spring and summer next year. So it's looking up for Huffman. I'm really proud of what we're doing, and we've actually been played in Britain and around the world at this point. So we're doing very well, and we're looking forward to get out there and meeting the fans.
Well, we're going to do our best to keep spreading the word, and the new single's out. We're going to play that one tonight. We're going to encourage folks to go back and check out the album Reign of 5, and we'll be keeping our eyes out for the new release coming up in just a little bit. So, Don Huffman, man, thanks so much for being here, and best of luck to you with the brand new single, man.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate everything you do for us.